Welcome to Resilience Brilliance. I'm Jenna Taylor, resilience strategist and founder of Resilience Brilliance podcast and programs. My show was born out of my own story of survival. After a traumatic brain injury, I couldn't walk, talk, or even remember. I had to start from scratch. Within months, I fought my way back, first to independence, then to writing for IBM Watson Health, and eventually rebuilding a six-figure career. My mantra became reclaim my life, and it's the heartbeat of everything I do. Resilience Brilliance is for anyone struggling with adversity, burnout, or the weight of life's challenges. The show delivers inspiring stories, practical tools, and expert insights so you can overcome, rebuild, and reclaim your own life with heart, humility, and humor. Today's podcast features Wendy Chow Brown, animal rights activist and health and behavior enthusiast, Chow Chows savior, and author of Chow Down with Wendy Brown, a natural recipe cookbook for canines, and her latest series, Inspired by Lily. Wendy has overcome her own personal health issues and survived the loss of 3 parents. Wendy specializes in medical dog rescue and has given her a lifetime of stories and the desire to encourage younger generations through her own children's book series. Thank you so much for being on the show, Wendy. I'm so happy to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And in case you listeners hear, there is snoring in the background provided to you by Ava. Would you like to introduce Ava?
Ava is, she's my youngest dog in my pack right now, and she is a medical rescue. She's a cream chow. She's about 3.5 years old, and she has something called meningoencephalitis of the unknown origin. So she's in good hands here. Lots of doctor's appointments and new things, but yes, and she's snoring. She snores very loud.
Beautiful. Well, while we're talking about your pack, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about the rest of your pack? And then we'll let you go into your background.
Okay, so right now I have 4 beautiful chows at my house. I have Jebby. He is on the cover of my cookbook. He is 13 years old, big blue boy. And then I have Kabuki, is a blue female, and she's about 7 years old. I have Happy, who is a cinnamon, and she is about 6 years old. And then Ava, of course, the snoring one.
Well, I'm so glad we have Ava snoring to keep the listeners listening in. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you got involved in this and a little bit about your own personal resilience story.
Well, so my resilience story would be that I have Lyme disease, and I know that's becoming a little bit more commonly talked about now, but I was struggling quite a bit for about 10 years without diagnosis. And when I did finally get diagnosed, getting treatment was difficult, but I have overcome, and I use a lot of natural things in my health now, holistic health, to keep myself going and keep things at bay. My dog rescue journey, oh boy, that goes back almost 30 years now. And I started really with just volunteering with a local shelter in Las Vegas. I'm originally from Wisconsin, Menominee Falls, actually. And I lived in Vegas for about 25 years, and I started volunteering with the SPCA and the Lead Animal Foundation. I think it may just be called the Animal Foundation now. But I just started volunteering, walking dogs, taking dogs to canine good citizen classes. Anything they needed me to do, I jumped in because I love animals. I grew up in the country. There were always animals. We always had a dog. There was a cat. We had rabbits. There were all kinds of things. So love them.
They bring such a joy and a unconditional love to our lives that like you, if I could have a pack of Chow Chows, I would. And someday, maybe I will.
You could. Be careful. It's hard. They're addicting. You cannot have just one.
I know.
Pringles.
We are number of dog restricted here. So
Yes, that's hard.
it's forcing me to only have 2.
That's still plenty. That's more than one. That's still good.
Yes. So talk about how has your Lyme disease, your 10 years struggle with trying to figure out and get some answers lead you to where you are today? And is that a parallel to your life rescuing chows?
Yes, yes, it is. Going to doctors for 10 years and not getting answers. You have to kind of become your own researcher. You have to ask a lot of questions. You have to try a lot of things. This made me use a different part of thinking, I guess. Not everybody wants to doctor Google things, but if you don't know what to ask when you go into an appointment, if you don't know what kind of doctor you need, all of those things matter. And that can be applied to the dogs as well. And literally, what we're ingesting affects that also. Inflammatory responses, bacterias. There's a lot of times dogs come out of a shelter, we bring them into rescue, and they have Lyme disease or they have bacterias and things that we have to address. And me going down that 10-year path of trying to find out, why is my eye swelling? Why do I have ringing in my ears? What's this weird rash that I have? All these weird things actually came down to, my whole body wasn't working right. And that was something the Lyme disease doctor told me, was that a lot of doctors will look at one thing. If I went in for my eye being bothered, they're only looking at my eye. They're not looking at my whole body. I had a bacteria or parasite in my entire body. So now when I get dogs and their medical rescues, I tend to look at the whole body. If their hair is falling out, I'm not just looking for a dermatologist. I'm looking at their diet, their blood panel. Are they eating right? What have they eaten? A lot of times when we get them, they're not in good shape. They haven't eaten right. They don't have any supplementation, or the food they were eating just was such poor quality. Sometimes it's medications or loads of things that they did or didn't need. It's me having Lyme disease definitely opened up a different part of my brain. I look at things a lot differently now when we get animals in. I'm not just rushing to the vet and saying, oh, this one's got a patch of missing hair. I've made a list of things I'm going to ask about before I go in because, well, and plus I've seen it so much now. We've pulled dogs out that eat their hair off their body because of nervousness. They have like anxiety. So sometimes it's behavioral. Sometimes there's a vitamin nutrient missing from their everyday diet, something that they're missing. Some dogs will eat dirt or feces, unfortunately. And those are things you can fix. Just takes time. But yeah, you have to look at the whole system. And a lot of times it comes down to, are there parasites? Is the diet good? Those are all really, really important things.
Well, and that parasite that you mentioned, that's such an easy fix, an easy solution to bring back that equilibrium in the body.
Yes, if you know that that's what you're looking at. And I think a lot of times people kind of dismiss it. I mean, we get parasites, from just exposure outside, ticks, mosquitoes, even the foods that we eat. So why wouldn't that apply to dogs, It's just I never thought about it with my pets until something happened to me, and now I look at it much differently.
So, did you start your Chow rescue after your diagnosis or before?
Well, I rescued a few chows before my diagnosis, but the actual chow rescue that I was vice president of was kind of in the middle of my diagnosis. I was already kind of going down the path and knew I had something more serious wrong with me, but I had started to rescue chows slightly before that.
We'll come back to that. Talk about your first rescue. Was your first rescue a Chow Chow?
No, no, it actually was a black chow, black lab mix, and her name was Princess Pigonia, Piggy for short. She was the best of both breeds, and we had gone into the shelter that day to pick out a dog, and I wanted all of them, of course, especially the ones that look sad or old. I'm very sensitive. It's hard for me to go in and not want to take all of them out. But she was just awesome right away. She was still, to me, just a very amazing dog, very soulful, seemed to just know things and understand things. And she was the first dog that I had on my own as an adult, not living with my parents. So that was my very first rescue.
And if you're like me, my first rescue as an adult was a half chow. Well, actually, that was our second one. Our first one, she was quarter chow lab collie in Newfoundland.
Oh, wow.
She had the spitz tail like the chow and the newfie. She had the retrieving skills like the lab. She had the coloring of a collie. She had the chow chow nose, so she didn't have that long nose. She had the poof.
Oh,
She had the she was like you say the best of all. But you know what? We fell in love with the chow chow in her.
yep.
And then our next chow was 50 chow chow and 50 American Indian breed. And then the third chow was 100% chow chow. And that's That's my soft spot right there.
Yep. It's there's nothing like it. They're very aloof, cat-like a little bit, they're one of the most ancient breeds that exists. They're not a dog that just hands you their love. You kind of have to work for it a little bit. They have to trust you and they show you that. And there's something about the way that feels that sticks with you. Definitely.
Yes. And I know when I take my chows out, whenever they look like lions, they
Mhm.
look like bears. They're
Yes.
so, and the way they have that stilted walk, they
Mhm.
look like they're very,
Yes. Like they have almost a snooty walk. Like they're proud when they're walking.
yes. Well, they are a very proud
They
breed.
are proud.
I always used to say my Chow Chow, Lucy, she didn't care about any other dog on the walk because she was the only dog that mattered in the world.
Yes, that's how mine are. And it's weird. Like they notice other chows more than they don't really care about the other dogs if we're out and about. It's not even interesting to them. It's so bizarre.
They're an interesting breed. They are just I have a soft spot for them for sure. So, Miss Piggy, was she your first medical dog or was she just your first adopted dog?
She was just my first adopted dog. She was definitely not my first medical dog. Let's see. I had gotten somewhere in there a wolf hybrid mix. And after that, I got a chow, just 100% chow, and she was perfectly fine. She lived to be 16. She was healthy. But my second bull chow was actually from the NSPCA in Las Vegas. And I was volunteering there. And I was so excited to hear that they had a chow come in. And he had been abandoned in the desert. He was mostly blind and mostly deaf. So there was a neighborhood of people that were putting plates of food out for him and water, but he was like bumping into cactus and stuff. Nobody could get near him. He was missing a lot of hair, sunburn. So they had to set up traps and they got him. And because I was always at the NSPCA volunteering, I got to spend time with him and he warmed right up to me. And I adopted him that Christmas that year. And he was a pretty serious medical case. He had patches of missing hair. He needed 2 eye surgeries. We could have had his, like the ear canal, we could have had that all removed from his
Oh.
ears, or I had to do a lot of care every day to keep his ears healthy and clean. He had just a ton of scar tissue just from literally years of neglect. His eyesight being gone and his ears and hearing being damaged were all from human neglect, which
Oh,
is
that's so sad.
it was terrible. Thankfully, there was an eye care specialist, so we had to have his eyes, the entropion surgery done top and bottom.
And so for the listeners who don't know what that is, can you describe what entropia is and what the surgery does?
So with entropion surgeries, the eyelid itself, where the eyelashes and fur are, they will kind of curl in. So the hair or eyelashes rubs on the eyeball itself, and it causes damage. It can cause ulcers and just blindness, scar tissue. With Tater Tot, that was his name, Tater Tot. He had so much scarring on his eyelids that it looked like he didn't have eyes. They were so pushed in because there was so much thick scarring that you couldn't really see his eyes. So the first surgery revealed that his eyes were indeed there. They cut the top of the eyelids and they flip them back out so they will sit normally now. And I remember when he came home from that very first surgery we did, and I had to yell his name because he was partially deaf. Tater. And he looks at me and it was like he got so excited because he could see me and his tail's just going and going. And you had to yell loud for him to hear you, but he could see. One of his eyes was a little bit more damaged than the other, but he could see a little bit and he could hear a little bit. So that was, and he had like a little rat tail because a part of his back had been sunburnt. He was just very scarred. Didn't care. And then at some point, with everything else he had gone through as he aged, he did develop Cushing's disease. There are like 3 kinds of Cushing's disease, and don't quote me on which one he had because I don't remember what it's called. But we took care of him for a very long time, even to where he was wearing diapers, and we did everything we could to help his body and him to have a really wonderful life. He loved to travel. He loved pizza. Now, his hearing and vision was impaired, but his nose was really something else. If we ordered a pizza, we had to eat it in the bedroom and lock him out. I'm kidding. 'Cause this dog would make these crying noises and trying to climb up to get up onto your lap or the table if he smelled pizza. I don't know if he lived off of pizza at some point in his life, but he had to have pizza. So we would always save a little bit for him, cut it up small and give it to him. But we could not eat pizza at the table. It was definitely never in the living room.
You
Pizza,
couldn't eat
yeah.
pizza in peace.
No, not even a little bit. His nose worked perfectly well. Perfectly well. He traveled to 3 different states with us. He lived in different places with us. He was a good traveler. But that whole journey I went on with him, with the human neglect, people finding him, trying to help him, that's all part of rescue. But I think it also opened my eyes to the fact that you can help a dog that looks like a hot mess. Like, just because a dog is in the shelter and they don't have hair all over their body and they're sick, you can nurse them right back to health and they can have an amazing life. Like, don't turn your back on that. They just need like some good meals, maybe some supplements, medications, and some care, and they're great. He was an amazing dog. I would definitely have a hearing or vision impaired dog again, like hands down. It was really a good experience, taught me a lot because he had to use his senses. You don't move the furniture around on a vision impaired dog, and don't leave your shoes in the middle of the room. That's not nice either. You learn things about their habits and how they really need a very structured routine, and it's great. Just having that very structured routine, he'd get very into it. And, if you weren't up at a certain time, he was making sure to tell you to get up. He was an awesome little guy.
And you said he lived till 16?
He lived until he was about 13 or 14.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. He lived a really good long life. The black chow that I got right before him that was 100% chow, she lived to be 16. She lived to be,
That's long for a chow.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You're treating them well.
Feeding him good.
Yeah. Well, when did you start making your own dog food? And I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but that's the question I want to ask. When did you start giving up the kibble 100% and supplementing the kibble with real food?
I think with tater tot, and this is probably 13 or 14 years ago, I started to question, because when he got Cushing's, I had to look for food that had a specific amount of protein and other things in it to help him. And because of that, I started looking at the labels. Now, I was not giving other food 100%, but I was starting to pay attention to the labels. What does this word mean? Like when they say meal or byproduct or whatever, I started paying a little bit closer attention, and I was very specific on what I gave him. And he did, of course, get some human food because of the pizza thing. I couldn't say no to him. But I didn't start really getting into it until about 8 years ago. So,
Okay.
yeah, sometimes, it took me a little longer to get farther along with that. And it was actually another medical dog that caused that also.
So what was this dog's name? Miss Piggy?
Miss Piggy, that one
That
was a
was
cow lab mix.
okay.
That
What
was
was the
the first
third
one.
one called?
Uh, let's see. I had Piggy. I had Hoggy Pie, which was my black chow. She lived to be almost 16. And then I had Tater Tot.
Tater.
Tater.
So is Tater your most difficult medical dog?
No,
Tell
he was
us.
my first. My most difficult one. Oh, probably gonna get teary eyed. Dakota Brown. Dakota Brown was a cream chow that came from North Dakota, and he was just a little guy, maybe 4 months old, 4 or 5 months old, and he was only home with us a few days. And I noticed he wasn't really acting like a puppy. He would sit and lean up against the couch, and his breathing seemed odd. We ended up taking him to the vet late at night, like an emergency call. And I lived in a small town. They didn't have an emergency clinic. So the vet drove in, and it wasn't my regular vet. It was just a vet on call. And she said, his breathing sounds fine. He doesn't have a temperature. I can't find anything wrong with him. But she gave him a shot of antibiotics and asked me to come back in the morning when they would have full staff there. And my regular vet was there, and they x-rayed him, and his whole right lung was solid, filled with phlegm. It was absolutely solid. That's why she didn't hear any rattling, but he had no fever. He had very severe pneumonia. And my vet said, basically, had we not been paying attention to his behavior and noticing that he wasn't acting right, because it was slight, because sometimes he would play a little bit, but it's not normal for a puppy to try to sleep sitting up. He said if somebody less experienced had him, he probably wouldn't have made it another 48 hours. And behavior and medical things can go hand in hand. They don't always, but sometimes an animal's behavior will tell you that something else is wrong. Even if you don't know what it is right away, you will eventually, it'll show itself. He did recover from that. And a few years later, still, he always had kind of a little bit of a behavior thing happening where he would suddenly act up a little bit aggressive towards one of the other dogs. And he was a little too hungry, greedy over the food, had to feed him separate. And he suddenly started losing bladder control. He actually would sleep on our bed sometimes at the foot of the bed. And I noticed that there was a little, like a small puddle of urine when he got up one morning. And that was very strange for like an 8-year-old dog. So I take him to the vet and they run tests, and he had Cushing's disease, the kind that causes a tumor on the pituitary gland. Now, for dogs, they don't go in and do surgery and remove that. So what happens is that tumor causes cortisol to be rushed through the system, like bursts of cortisol. So that would sometimes display as a little bit of aggression, never towards us, but maybe the other dogs. Sometimes he would get very hyped up and actually like run in a circle, like humping the air. Like he couldn't control his body. He was just like so amped up. And then he started getting like a facial twitch.
Hmm.
And again, never really showing us that he was in pain or yelping, but we ran the tests and he tested positive for Cushing's. And the traditional medicine is something called Veterol, I think. And we tried that and he continued to get worse. And because there's not really a cure, you have to make a decision, like quality of life. And I had actually reached out to a company our rescue at the time was kind of working with, and it was a company that sells CBD for pets. And they had worked with like zoos and SeaWorld and stuff. And I contacted the owner and he said, I'm going to overnight you something. Give him 4 days. Don't make a decision. And I was like, okay, don't make a decision. So he went from not being able to walk because when that box came, we had a belly band on him and then his harness. So we'd have to help him outside, hold him up so he could go to the bathroom and help him back in the house. He couldn't do anything. And within 4 days, he was running. So
Wow.
the thing with CBD products is, well, quality always is an issue, but then their bodies burn it up really quickly. So it's kind of like if you give a dog Benadryl for allergies, they take 1 milligram per pound of weight, whereas we take one Benadryl for our whole size and it's 24 hours. They could have like 4 Benadryls in a day or 6, depending on their size. So it's kind of the same thing with CBD. It burns through their bodies really, really quick. So sometimes I hear this from people. They say, well, I tried CBD for my dog's anxiety or whatever, and it didn't work. If you're treating a medical condition with CBD, you have to give it to them multiple times a day in different formats. An oil, like a dropper, is very common, but you can't give them oil all day because that affects the liver. So you got to get capsules, the oil, and then there's the product I was using. There was something that could go in the water bowl, and it was safe for the other dogs to have, of course, because it's not going to hurt them. And then there were like little kibbles and treats that I could give him. So he had that 4 times a day. He made it about another year, so much so that my vet started recommending the products for dogs that they did not have a solution for because it can shrink tumors. There's a Chow group that I also talked to online over in Europe, and they use certain protocols to shrink tumors, get rid of cancers, things like that. It's all still very experimental. There's not a lot of papers on it, but when you get to the point where you have something and there is no solution, you have to be willing to try things that are not in the textbook yet.
The unorthodox solutions.
Absolutely. And sometimes you also have to look at diet. You've got to look at diet. Like there were certain things he just couldn't have anymore. So I started looking at, what's going to help his brain health, his kidneys, his liver, all these things. And that was when I really started focusing on what am I feeding the dogs? And that really, really mattered to me. He was so young. He was, I think, 9 when he passed. And that's pretty young. For me, he was just a young boy who was sick in the beginning and then got sicker with something else. And I hated to see that. He was such a good boy. When you go unorthodox with treatments, everybody's paying attention. What are you doing? How did you get that? And then looking at what I'm feeding. There's a lot of things that I started reading about with herbs with dogs, which you have to slowly introduce. That's a whole big category in itself. But supplement companies, which ones are good? Where are they sourcing from? There's so many different little categories you can go down, or rabbit holes, if you will,
Hmm.
to help them. But that one dog, Dakota Brown, really got me interested in all of the feeding. What am I giving them? How am I helping them? And paying attention to the little things, because the little things in him is what really showed me when something was wrong. It was a slight behavior change or a bathroom accident. They were very slight things that maybe somebody else would overlook, but I feel like I don't overlook anything now. Now I'm a little bit like, did you just limp? Like I'm just looking for, did you sneeze? Okay, not that bad. But once you start realizing that a slight behavior change or an oddity or something, even not eating a meal one time, is somebody's stomach upset? Are you checking your dog's stool? That might seem gross to some people, but I look at it every day because that's going to tell me.
You have 4 dogs now. How can you tell their poop from each other?
They don't go outside without me.
You watch.
Yes.
Okay.
Especially Jebby, my big blue boy. He's 13. He was having a little bit of a tummy upset the other day. He wasn't really eating his food all the way, but yet he was acting very hungry, kind of whining and looking at his food. And I did notice there was a lot of like mucus in his stool and stuff. So, gut health. You have to, he is older, so gut health, things to help the gut lining, probiotics, different things for his immune system. Colostrum is great, but he didn't feel right for about 3 or 4 days, and he's fine now. So I just made some adjustments, made him some different dinner a couple times, and then we were okay. Now we're fine.
We had a situation with my little Ellie, and she was having, well, I think what happened, and I don't know if these are related or not. I think she got into the tangelo off of our tree.
Okay.
And when after the fact, I saw the tangelo had been a little peeled off,
Yeah.
and I didn't discover the pile of vomit. So
Mhm.
I heard that looked like peel and pulp. And I
Oh,
thought, peel and pulp. So I was walking around the backyard and I saw this strangely looking tangelo on the ground. And I looked closer and I discovered that that might be the reason why she had an upset stomach. I realized that they're very toxic to dogs. Why she thought that was something she should nibble on, I don't know. But we had some upset stomach, we had some diarrhea and lethargy, and she did not want to eat. So then I did some supplementing. She was liking her rice and her pumpkin,
yeah.
and then she got well. So back to the kibble, I reintroduced the kibble. Oh, I gave her applesauce too. So she had some yummy stuff, and the other dog's like, well, come on, I don't get any of that.
Well, you didn't throw up, so
Exactly. And then she was fine, and then it recurred, and then we did some special a diet adjustment, and then she was fine, and then it recurred again, and we did a little adjustment. Knock on wood, somewhere in my office, all is well. But yes, they could get something in their stomach, and I think it takes a while for things to
yeah,
clear.
it does. Hopefully, she'll stay away from the Tangelos.
Now we're off season for Tangelos, so that's
Good.
good. Yes.
I actually saw one day that somebody had eaten part of a rose one of my rose bushes. Somebody had pulled some things off. It was a little messy next to the rose bush. And I was like, well, who did that? I come in the house, and I had just been in the house. And there was a small pile of vomit about that big, rose leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll make them throw up every time, and I was like, "Stay away from that." So, I do go outside with them, and I kinda watch that area because I have one that likes to smell the flowers, which is so cute. Okay, it's very cute. But I always say, "Don't eat the rose," because I still don't know who did it. I do not know which one of them decided to eat some leaves. I have no idea. Nobody told on anybody. There was just a little pile of vomit, and they're all looking at me like, "Hey, it wasn't me." So, I don't know. So I just every time somebody goes around the corner by the rose bush, I just kinda peek over there and remind them, "Don't eat that."
Don't even think about it.
Yeah, we don't yeah, that's a bad idea.
That's so funny because all my dogs have wanted to re-ingest their vomit.
Oh,
They want
yeah,
to
exactly.
clean up their mess. So nobody claimed that pile then, huh?
Nobody wanted to eat it for a second time. No, no. I've had dogs get into a little squabble over, like, let's say they throw up some dog kibble or food. They will get a little anxious about who gets to eat that now, which is absolutely like, I will make you a new plate of food. Just get out of here. Get away. No, we don't need to re-ingest that. It's not necessary.
That brings up a topic of a danger. We're talking about toxins for dogs. One year, many years ago, I had our first dog, the one I mentioned that had the quarter chow, lab, Newfie, and collie. And my daughter had her Easter basket,
Oh
and
no.
the dog went through. This is what's funny about the situation. Yes, the dog got into the Easter basket, but the dog did not eat the cheap chocolate. The dog liked the expensive chocolate,
Okay.
and she ate enough to get sick. Or maybe we discovered that's what it was. We discovered that she had eaten the chocolate, called the vet. He told me to do the peroxide. So made her drink some peroxide and immediately she vomited. Oh my gosh, it happened so fast. I wasn't ready to clean it up. She's going out there trying to get the chocolate back in her belly. And I'm like, no, don't do that.
No, that's bad.
She's like, that stuff's good.
Went to the good stuff.
She wasn't too happy with me. And the amount that she'd eaten, the vet said, it's probably not enough for her, but might as well try and get her to
Get it out.
get rid of it.
Well, I had that wolf dog that I had in Vegas. I had made chocolate chip cookies one night, and I pushed them back on the counter to cool, like on those little cooling racks. And I remember we were going outside to look out of a telescope. There was some anomaly happening in the sky that evening. So we were outside for a little while. Come back in. There were 3 cookies left. He was a big boy. He was about 120 pounds. Big boy.
Thanks, Mom.
And he would do this thing where he would run in the bedroom and slide headfirst under the bed because it's the only way he could fit, and we couldn't get him out. He would take things like socks, anything that you might want, whatever, he took it. You couldn't get it back unless he was out of the bedroom. So he laid under that bed for 2 or 3 days, and you could hear his stomach gurgling. He was so big. The vet said, to look for certain things, but not to worry. It wasn't enough for him to have. He was so big, it didn't really matter, but he never threw up. His stomach made weird noises all night. I was waiting for something
to happen.
Really horrible to happen, and it didn't. He was okay. He lived. I do not ever recommend giving your dog chocolate, but he was okay.
Did he ever want more chocolate chip cookies, or had he had his fill?
I think he had his fill. Yeah. He was a really unique dog. He did some weird stuff.
They all have their own personalities.
They definitely do. I actually have some that are very fussy over certain types of food even. Happy, my little cinnamon chow, nothing with chunks. She doesn't like chunks. She spits them out. So sweet potato, the chunk is too big, it goes on the floor. Peas, she picks peas out. Yeah, I made a little video the other day because I go to pick up her food bowl and there's little peas on the floor everywhere. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You hate peas? I didn't know. Like, I did not know that. Now I know that. So no more peas for her. Because picking up wet, partially chewed peas off the floor really is not my idea of a good time. So I'm just not going to give them to her anymore.
Isn't it so interesting how just like people, they have their own unique palate and their idiosyncrasies.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
None of my dogs right now eat carrots.
Really? Huh.
Nope. I think I've got the only 2 dogs, and they don't like bananas.
None of mine right now eat bananas either. They absolutely look at me like I'm trying to give them poison. They don't want it. But I've had dogs in the past that love them. They just, like, you just share a bite with them and they love it.
Yeah, and my Lucy loved blueberries.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. Ellie, no way. Don't put those in my bowl. Yuck.
Yeah, mine treat them like the peas. I actually found that I can get them to eat blueberries if I dice them up, but if it has the whole peel around it, they just spit it out or just leave it in the bowl. I don't know how they eat around it so carefully and get every other morsel, but there's blueberries left in the bowl.
They're talented and skilled.
Yeah, I'm not that talented. I would have just ate it. But blueberries not a favorite. Bananas right now, no. Carrots. When I make their meatloafs or their meal toppers, I run carrots through a food processor. So something I learned in all the cooking I've done for my dogs is the smaller something is chopped up, like these vegetables or even the herbs, the digestibility rating goes up. It's easier for them to process and digest. None of my dogs have ever taken just like a little carrot from me. Like some dogs will chew on it like they have a bone, like it's fantastic. Mine have never done that, but I do mince it up in the food processor and mix it into their meatloaf so they're getting carrot, whether they want it or not.
That's brilliant. Brilliant. And that's a great segue to my next question.
Okay.
What made you realize your dog's food was as important as medicine?
Ooh, that comes down to some of my own health and the fact that if I can control things that are happening in my body with what I eat, I should be able to control theirs as well. If a dog eats a highly processed diet, I'm going to compare it to McDonald's. McDonald's. If you eat fast food every single day, you're going to be unhealthy. You're going to have kidney problems, liver problems, probably be diabetic. It's the same thing for dogs with kibble. It is highly processed. Reading in the health forums, I belong to different groups online. So reading in the health forums, everybody thinks their dog is allergic to chicken. Understanding that histamine levels in foods, histamine is in everything. It's not just pollen, but it's in foods. How you cook the foods can raise and lower the histamine value. And I had to learn that because of my health. I have different genetic makeup that causes me to have histamine intolerance. So when a dog has allergies, I'm looking at their food, and it is really important because if I'm giving them chicken-based kibble and they have really bad allergies already, they're just going to get inflamed. If I give them turkey or bison or lamb, that's going to be different. They're going to have a different reaction. So learning those things along the way, it was not an overnight sensation. Like I wasn't like, "Oh, I get it now." It was a lot of research and a lot of trial and error and just so much research and reading. And it did come down to me learning some of those things about my own health first. Colostrum. It's really great for people for like your hair, your skin, your gut health. Also, allergies hate colostrum. So I supplement my dogs with colostrum. Allergies, again, quercetin is a natural antihistamine. So I add that to their diet. And that's also in like your red berries. So understanding why your dog's health is maybe off, or maybe they're overweight, or their skin looks bad, or their coat looks flat, and finding out what you can add, there's no quick way to that. It was a long process. And yes, it definitely started with my own health. And then the dogs that have had health problems, learning about all of that along the way. Most of the dogs we get in from the shelters end up with UTIs when they come out because chows notoriously will not go to the bathroom in their kennel. So having things like cranberry and things in the house to help them when they come out. Yes, they need antibiotics, but let's support the kidneys, let's support the urinary tract. And how do we do that? So yeah, I kind of dive into different topics depending on what the animal is suffering with. But the biggest thing was the processing of the foods. Processed kibble is higher in histamine and it has a lot of fillers in it, like fast food does for us. It would be kind of like not just eating fast food every day, but eating cereal every single day. You're not going to get the same nutritional value as you would from fresh foods. Fresh food is fresh food,
Mhm.
food, processed, not as good for you. It's the same thing for them as it is for us.
Well, it makes total sense. Whole food, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Whole food is free of all of those preservatives and the hidden ingredients
Lot of funny words on dog food
labels.
kibble. Yes, yes. And I think people are finding out that our foods are very much the same. There's a lot of hidden things. What are we gonna call red dye now or blue dye? Like they change the names of things, but what is it really? You do know what you're feeding your dog if you're making it. I do still feed some kibble and I rotate the brands because again, you have to constantly be looking at your labels. It's a little bit tricky, but I do add whole foods. I just think it's important, and I think with the dogs that I get in because of doing medical rescue, also they really need it. I mean, they need it and they benefit from it, and I see it. Like I have my 13-year-old boy. His coat is amazing. Everybody thinks he's 5 or 6 years old. Most older dogs, their coats get very flat, and they just don't hop around like he does. What is it? Green lipid muscle for his joints. And that's supposed to be better than salmon oil or anything else. And again, sourced very cleanly. I had never tried it before this last year, but it's wonderful. And
Okay.
I use it from 4 Leaf Rover. It's called Safe C. If you look up what the lipid muscle does and how they get it, research is saying that this is better than the fish oils. Some of the fish oils are not as clean as they could be. Just like feeding an all fish diet, you can have mercury and things, metals, if you're doing an all fish diet for your dog all the time. So that's something that mercury does not go away. It doesn't cook out of the fish when you make the kibble, and the dog's body can't process it either. Like if you and I were to eat tuna fish every single day and salmon every single day, we would suffer a medical condition from that. And so would the dogs. So trying to find a different way to give those omegas, that lipid muscle is a good one. It's called Safe. I
We'll
think
have
there's
yeah, we'll make sure to have all those links in the show.
okay. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good stuff. I mean, Jebby's 13. He was jumping over the girls in the backyard the other day. He just is he's a big boy. He's 80 pounds and he's just jumping over stuff. At 13, it surprises me, but he's doing really well. So it's
And
working.
now, Jebby, I know this, but Jebby is on the cover of your book, which is
Yes,
over your shoulder.
I
Do you
have
want to grab one and show us?
that's
Look at good Jebby.
He's so cute. I mean, seriously, he's adorable. He's just a big teddy bear and he's just a gentle giant too, just a gentle giant. But his coat and his skin, I think the last time we went for an old guy checkup about 8 or 9 months ago, where they just do lab work on your dog as they get older to see, look at what the liver's doing, how's his kidneys, whatever. And he's doing great. They kept saying, "Are you sure he's 13?" Yes, I'm positive. I am absolutely positive. He is an old man, but he doesn't act like it at all, and he doesn't look like it. So he's been he's a good example of what a really good diet can do.
When he came in, was he a medical rescue?
No, he wasn't. Actually, his mom was in a shelter in Alabama, and somebody within our rescue network was called to go to the shelter and pick up. It was a female chow and two males, all emaciated, just terrible condition. And she had them quarantined in a room in her home. And she told me the next day that when they woke up, they thought there was a cat in their house. And they thought, well, this isn't good because they have all these dogs in the house. So they went room to room. And the last room they went in was the quarantine room, and the female dog had given birth to 4 chows. Nobody knew she was pregnant because she was so underweight. So she had four pups, and she was very nervous about who she gave them to. You do all your checks and balances when you adopt a dog out. She said to me, I'm going to be very attached and I'm going to be very worried. And I want these dogs to go to people I know. And I said, no, I don't want a puppy. I don't want a puppy. I kept saying, no, 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 no. Yeah. Then I flew to Atlanta and she met me there and I flew home with him.
Of course. Of course.
So she kept the 2 females and the 2 blue boys were adopted out. So yeah, he was not a medical rescue, but I thank God every day that she went and picked up those chows from the shelter, because he would have been euthanized along with his mother. Like that would
Yeah,
have
that's
been a very
sad.
sad story. But yeah, he's been healthy the whole time. I haven't had any problems with him. The same thing with my blue female now and the cinnamon female, Happy and Kabuki. They're both healthy. And this little well, she's got everybody beat. Meningoencephalitis of the unknown origin. That was a really hard one for me to remember.
Well, and you pronounce it like it's not a tongue twister.
I had to make a little song about it, is what I had to do, because meningoencephalitis of the unknown is hard to remember.
So, are you going to sing the song?
No, I'm not. I'm not singing it.
Well, you talk about. Go ahead.
I didn't even know how. I'm like, what am I saying? So I had to just kind of sing a little rhymey song with it, and then it stuck.
Well, you say it like you make it come out so easy. So
The
good
doctor?
job.
No.
Well, we was talking about he was in utero emaciated, right? So I had rescued a puppy from that situation where they went and rescued. She and the dad were at a kill shelter, and I think 12 puppies.
Wow.
And 9 survived.
Wow.
So they created, Deanna. So Deanna had somebody who followed her. She created a chow group in the Quad Cities and the Iowa-Illinois border. And I happened to call when this was all going down because we lost our quarter chow lab Newfie collie mix. Her name was Edie. When she died, and the half chow was just so depressed. My then husband said, I can't take it anymore. We have to get a puppy. So I'm down the hall. I'm calling Deanna, and she's like, funny you should call because we're in the process of putting this new rescue together, and we've got puppies, and there were 8 males, 1 female.
Wow.
And I'm like, I want her. And she's like, she wanted me to have a male. any of the males. You have first pick at the litter. I'm like, well, there's only one female, so that's the one I want. So that's how I got Lucy. But she was, they were all very little, and mom was malnourished. And so my opinion is that there were a little bit of medical needs at the beginning,
Yes.
but Jeppy caught up for sure.
Well, Jebby was the runt. He was the runt.
That's funny.
And I was kind of looking at the other boy, and my friend kept saying, how Jebby was very small and she had to leave him alone with the mother dog to nurse sometimes because he just wasn't getting enough. And she took really good care of him. I got him right at 9 weeks. And I never would have guessed by how small he was that he would have been this big. His brother was actually, I think, over 100 pounds. So big, big boys, big boys. Both
Yes.
were very average size, but he's just a big boy. Being that he was so tiny, I think had she not really kept track of him and made sure that he was nursing enough, I don't know, because the mom was, again, she was so emaciated. How do you even nurse at that point,
When you're malnourished,
Yes.
how can you give any nourishment to your pups?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Yep.
I thank everybody who rescues chows and for the rescuers who rescued the chows because they are very much misunderstood breed and they take a really bad rap and they are the most intelligent, endearing, fun, loving companions.
I agree. I
We're, s-
agree.
we're, s- we're the chow choir right here.
I know. Yes. Yes. I totally agree.
In the Chow Network. So this is how Wendy and I met through our love of chows and the
Mhm.
Chow Network. And Wendy's name is Wendy Chow Brown. How can you not love somebody who uses the Chow breed in her name? I thought, well, I thought, well, maybe her name really is Wendy Chow Brown and she loves chows. But then when I met her and asked her, she's like, no, it's just because I love chows.
Yes. My middle name is not actually Chow. It could be, though. I'm open to legally changing it.
So, what inspired you to write Chow Down with Wendy Brown?
A lot of the online chow groups that I'm in, and again, the diet ones, the ones about food problems and allergies and all this, I see a lot of repetition in what people are asking. And because I have been given all of this weird information at different bits and pieces here and there over the course of like 20 years, I thought, I'm constantly answering people's questions in Messenger, which I love doing. I will help anybody. Like, send me a message. I'll see if I can help you figure out, either what to ask the vet, or there are vet nutritionists now. That's a new thing. That is a totally new thing. And I love it. I love it. There's vet nutritionists now for a reason. And I'm always willing to help. But writing this book is because people would ask me all the time, well, what are you feeding them? What are you doing? Well, it's different for each dog. If I have a medical dog, like with Ava right now, she doesn't need a very specific diet. She does have to have some specific supplementation because of her liver. But other than that, her diet, they're all eating basically the same types of foods. But I really wanted to write that book because so many people asked me, well, what are you doing? And I thought, okay, I'll write this. Now, this book is very basic. It's going to help somebody that's like a beginner. I want to add something to my dog's diet, but I don't know where to start. Because if you're going to cook your dog's food, like 100%, no kibble, no nothing, you have to add supplements. So that becomes a whole nother category. This is a beginner book. How do I make dog treats that are healthy so that I'm not buying the processed stuff? How do I make a topper that will help my dog's health? So I have different recipes and things in here, and you can swap proteins out. You can swap vegetables out because some dogs don't like certain things. It makes it really, really simple. And probably a second book, I'm going to go more into herbs and supplementation for things and discuss that a little bit more. Again, this is very basic to help people that want to know where do I start? How do I do that? The easiest way to lower your dog's histamine level is not to slow cook anything. If you can boil the meat, they refer to that as gently cooking. Gently cook the meat. If you look at Eastern medicine, chicken is a hot meat, turkey is a cool meat. They're both bird, but one is easier to digest, and that would be the turkey. but you can still lower histamine values in chicken. So like I have recipes in here, like I have a chicken stew and I say like boil the chicken breast, dice it all up. So you're going to cook these things in a way that keep the inflammation out of the body. Inflammation for people is really bad right now. And everybody's got to know. Everybody has inflammation now. Why is that? Because our food is so overprocessed. Same
Right.
thing. So again, writing this book was because people are asking me questions like every single day. I was getting at least 10 messages. Well, how do I do this? Why are you doing that? How can I help my dog with this? And this just made it simple. I've got tons of recipes in there that you can alter. If it gets somebody at least reading it, looking at it, considering it, maybe doing a couple Google searches, because all the information is out there, but you have to want to know. So for the people that want to know, this is a great place it's a great book to start. Like, oh, this is easy. I can do this, because it can be overwhelming. Like, especially, let's say somebody doesn't even cook for their family. It's overwhelming to think, oh my gosh, I got to make a meatloaf for my dog. Like that's so much.
Well, and how is the family going to how's that going to go over with the family? Oh, I've started cooking for my dog, but you have to fend for yourself.
Yes, yes. It's I cook for the family too. So for me, that was like no big deal. But like little meatballs, you don't have to make them into little balls. You can put in a loaf pan if you want, cut it up, save yourself some time. But these are great, easy recipes, super simple. And one thing that I throw in a lot of my recipes is curly leaf parsley. It helps. None of my dogs have bad breath. Not a one. And it helps that so much. And it is also antioxidant and anti-inflammatory. Has to be curly leaf parsley. I say that in all my videos. Don't use flat leaf. It's toxic.
So do you grow your own herbs?
No, but I will. I will be at some point. Yeah.
I'm going to start growing some curly leaf
Are you?
parsley.
Are you? Yeah.
Well, I do have a garden. We
Okay.
have a lot of stuff here. We have herbs, but I'm going to get that one
Yep.
because the old dog has really bad breath.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank
And
you.
then he's a mouth breather. He goes,
For
and
that.
then you're just like, where's the gas mask?
And you want to like love the baby. Yeah.
You're
Yep.
like,
13-year-old dog doesn't even have dog breath. Yeah. Nobody's got dog breath.
that's
There's a lot
fantastic.
of stuff that I feed him. It helps with the teeth and the gums and the breath and the stomach health, all of those things. Sometimes the breath is coming from bad stomach health. Sometimes it's coming from a bad tooth, which can happen. I mean, even some people have bad teeth genetically, but right now I don't have anybody with bad breath, thank goodness. But yeah, curly leaf parsley is a big one. I'm a big connoisseur of that. It's
And
good.
apparently your dogs like it.
Well, I don't even know if they notice it. Like if I put it in meatballs or into like a stew or something, they're not even noticing it. They're just gobbling it down.
Yeah.
I use bone broth a lot too. A lot of bone broth. That's really good for them. Good for their stomach, their skin, good hydration, extra protein, especially like older dogs. Maybe their appetite is decreased. They can drink that. And it's
It's very
fantastic.
medicinal.
Yeah.
I keep
It
I
is.
keep bone broth on hand here for
Yeah.
when I'm sick.
Yes, absolutely. Our grandma used to make the chicken soup. You've got to boil chicken on the bone to get your broth. So it's same concept. Raw goat's milk too. That's a good one for them. Yep,
Mm,
that's a good one. Very, very good for them. And usually you can get that from there's some pet stores that'll sell it in the refrigerator section. I get one from Honest Kitchen. It's like a powder, so I can just mix it as I need it. But that's really good for them too.
okay. Now, you also have ventured into picture books for children.
I have.
Talk about your series and when did this idea come to you? Because we talked about you were putting together this cookbook for dogs. Then all of a sudden you tell me, "Oh, I'm writing a children's picture book series." So, you've done a lot in a very short amount of time. What inspired you to come up with this idea about Lily?
I had a very good friend in rescue years ago named Blake Donovan, who very much mentored me as much as Deanna, because Deanna's been doing rescue a long time, as you know. Blake was along those lines. She was a chow rescue in California. And there were many times that, I called her crying about a dog. I don't know what to do. What is the right thing? Because nobody hands you a handbook in rescue. She oftentimes just kind of was supportive in a way that I needed. And she passed at some point. But before she passed, we talked quite a bit. And she said, Wendy, what are we going to do to get the younger generation interested? As us older rescuers are like retiring from it or we pass away, who's going to help these dogs? And I thought, I don't know. I just assumed other people would step up, right? But I had to think about it. My upbringing, I grew up in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. I lived in a very rural area. There were animals around. My parents taught me kindness to animals. Living things are important. We had a garden. Like, we lived a very rural lifestyle, and we believed in volunteering and helping neighbors and things like that. But not everybody lives like that. Some people live in the city their whole life, and maybe they don't have a pet until they're an adult. So how do you get a young child to open their mind to that? Well, I thought I could write a book. So Lily, okay, so this right here, this is not me, but it's based loosely on things that I experienced in my life as a child. So Lily's stories are based on the local shelter. And, the first book, they have like a big pet supply drive and what she has to do to get involved in that. Her family is supportive, they get involved. Neighbors, people in the community, everybody gets involved. I think having a child like ages, let's say 6 to 9, reading something like that, and then maybe saying to their mom or dad, do we have an animal shelter? Can I volunteer there? Can I see that? Or maybe their teacher at their grade school has like a guinea pig in the classroom. You know how some classrooms would have like little pets? It opens up a conversation because a lot of times parents with kids that age, they are reading with them. And I hope that that's what's happening with this, that the parents are reading it too, because, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, everybody's involved in these books. So I wanted to inspire a child at a young age that maybe doesn't have those things around them yet to open a conversation up within the family. I hope. I hope this is one way to do it. So it's a whole series. I still have book 4 to do. I've got Lily's Pet Supply Drive, Big Photo Shoot is the second one. And I did do right before Christmas, Animal Shelters Christmas. This is a good one. The last one I have to do of this 4-book series is hard for me. I did have the first 2 of these books outlined for quite a while, probably 2 years. I had the idea and I sat on it because I didn't have the recipe book done. And this is new for me. I mean, I'd never written a book before. I didn't know what I was doing. So I had a lot of research to do. The fourth book in the Inspired by Lily series is going to be about a special needs dog, actually. That's going to bring in the medical part of this, and how sometimes maybe like a dog with 3 legs can be just as wonderful in a home as a dog with 4, or that cat that has a problem, or a dog that can't see. It doesn't matter. Like, they're still a wonderful companion. So it's going to touch a little bit on that. That's all I'm going to say about that, because I'm not done with my outline on that. But my whole plan was to inspire youth, hopefully.
That's beautiful. And that's the right age for sure for
Yeah.
making a difference and getting kids thinking, because they're so curious and they're so open-minded.
Yes.
And, we adults have, in our world, hasn't like made their world smaller. So they still have these big ideas about the world.
Excited about the world.
Yes.
They wanna help, they wanna do something, and I think that needs to be encouraged and, like, cherished even, help it grow. Kindness makes everything better, you know? It just does, and these books are about community, family, the animals. They're really, if you can inspire a child's mind to do good in the world, that's perfect. Especially kindness to animals, passion, oh my goodness.
And it's so important, as you were talking earlier about your medical dog history. Everybody goes in to adopt and they want the cutest, the fluffiest,
Yep.
and they overlook the medical dogs. They overlook the ones with the
Yeah.
bald spots. They overlook the ones that need the TLC the most. And the message that you are going to be presenting in that 4th book in this series is such meaningful
Mhm.
work to give those dogs that really need a fighting chance
Yep.
a leg up.
Yep.
You like my pun?
I do. I do, but
A couple more things before we wrap up. We could talk forever about chows and books. One of the things I publicly want to tell you, very, very deep thanks from the bottom of my heart. You were talking about how you went and you talked to your chow people and you needed assistance. And Wendy gives back, people, because when I was going through medical issues with my dog, Mickey, who was my everything after I lost my partner, he helped me recover. He helped me get through my grief. And I had to put him down. Wendy listened to me when I was at a crossroads with what my options were, and she listened to me, and she thought about it. We reconvened, and, there was no judgment. The ultimate course of action was he had, a very short life, and but he had 3 good years with me, 3.5 good years with me, and that is when you think about when you rescue a special needs animal, and he was very special needs.
Yes,
Those 3.5 years that whatever time you have with them is bonus time.
it is.
It's short, it's too short, and I grieved like nobody's business when it was that day, but he taught me so much, and I wanna thank you again for being there for me and helping me understand the unglorious side of Chow Rescue. It's not always pretty, and I think it's and maybe that's a 5th book. Maybe you add a 5th book and you talk about the
I've
sad
that.
part
I
of
I've debated
rescue.
that, but I debate it back and forth because of the age category. I have to be careful, like, even when I was doing the outline for the medical dogs, like the special needs dogs, I don't know how sad I want it to be. I do wanna be truthful because there is a very sad side to rescue where you sometimes have to make a selfless choice for the betterment of the dog's quality of life, and you have to make a decision, um, that sometimes hurts yourself. And I don't know. I don't know. I have to touch on it because it is really important. So many people go through what you went through, and I know that you and I talked about that. Sometimes you just have to make decisions that are horrible. They're horrible.
Gut-wrenching.
Right,
Yeah.
yes. Yes. And
Yeah.
I've had to do it. It's sometimes you run out of other
Uh,
options and you just have to make a decision. It's
yeah.
hard. It's very hard, but I'm always here.
Well, and you mentioned people could talk to you and you'd respond on Messenger, and
Mhm.
that's what I'm telling you, everybody. Wendy is that giving, and she is that selfless, and she's that committed to this beautiful breed, and without people like Wendy, these dogs and those of us who love them and adopt them would be really hurting. So you're doing a great service to the world and to these beautiful chows and to all of us that get to adopt these beautiful creatures and learn from them.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I love them that much, and I know that I have been that person that needed help over and over again. I mean, I've been doing this almost 30 years. So, yeah, in the beginning, I needed a lot of help, and people were there to answer my questions, hold my hand, tell me it's okay. You have to do this or whatever. We all learn from each other. The world would be a much better place if everybody took a little bit of time to be kind and give each other grace and a hug. These animals benefit so much from it, and we benefit from them. And I will always answer people's questions, always. I hope I never get too busy that I can't.
And so how do you want people to reach out to you?
They can reach out to me through any of my social medias, Wendy Chow Brown. And I also have a website, which if you can email me through that, it goes directly to my email. Any of my social medias, got TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, I've got it. And I do answer questions. You can message me, you can comment on a post. If you see something and you have questions, I always answer people. Always. I make a point to it because I know I've been on the other side of that before. And I think the faster you get an answer to something, quicker you solve the problem, everything's better.
Absolutely. There's one topic we have not covered.
Uh,
There's so many things we've talked about.
I know.
It's grief.
Yes.
You know your fair share of grief. You've lost 3 parents.
Yes.
What do you wanna say about grief and the connection to resilience and chows?
That is a big one. It is really a big one. Losing I lost 3 parents, and I don't know if you know this other one, I also lost a sister. So, I've lost a lot of people in a very short time. It is very hard, and everybody does grieve a little differently. My dogs keep me very focused. I have to stay on routine with them, and I know that that was the reason. I've been able to get up and do things on certain days when I didn't want to because they're dependent on me like a small child. That's helped me immensely. Also, the volunteer work that I do, because volunteering doesn't just shut up. No, I'm not paid. I'm not paid to be a volunteer. Nobody is. But when other people are depending on you or animals' lives are depending on you because I needed to answer this email in a certain amount of time or answer a call, if I can help, I need to, no matter what kind of mood I am in. And also building those bonds with those people involved in that strengthens you so much. All of those people that I've connected with over the years, all across the country, actually all over the world, it it helps you. We all connect on a very human level. So between my connections with my volunteer work with people and then with the dogs, I think it really helped me through a lot of really traumatic spots in my life. My mom was probably the biggest one because she had a lot of health problems while I was young, and she actually was the oldest living double transplant recipient in the country for a long time. And my mom never quit, never quit. She would research things, sign up for, like, if it was a new program medically,
Clinical
she
trials?
yes, clinical trials. She was doing it. She had diabetic retinopathy in the eyes. She signed up for a program. They did like I don't want to use the word experimental, but a surgery on her that was new so that they could document things. There was a lot of things that she did that was inspiring to me as now as an adult. As a child, I'm not sure that I knew exactly what I was seeing, but my mom never quit. She never quit. That is a big part of me bouncing back too. I've just got that in me. My mom said anytime I came to her with a problem, she said, "You just have to try harder." She goes, "You have to keep trying." My mom never gave up. Never. Not till I mean, she's probably looking down on me saying, "Yes, you go, girl. Keep going. Keep going." She was the strongest person I know. She's truly amazing, truly amazing. But yes, my connection with animals and with people over many years has made things absolutely, I think, so wonderful. Like, I just even on my worst days, they're not that bad. They're not that bad. I'm never alone, and I have 4 wonderful chows here that I think they like my cooking, so but, I mean, it just I I could never quit on something. You get up, you reinvent yourself, you keep moving. Life is short. Keep going. There's gonna be hard times for every single person out there. We all have heartache. We all have health issues. We all suffer loss, and we are all in that together.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for sharing. Thanks for coming today and sharing your expertise on chows, on diet, on grief, your stories from your books, and sharing your wealth of wisdom.
Well, thank you for having me. I love talking to
Um,
you.
we'll have to do it again.
Thank you, Jenna.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for everything you do for all the chows out there, too. And
And
for all of you, say that again.
thank you for adopting.
Well, you know me, I'd like to adopt lots more. I really love my chows.
Oh, they're
And, I think it's so apropos. I don't even have a chow in the office today, but I think it's apropos that we can still hear Ava snoring. She must have woken up and then
she moved, like, from
fell
under
back asleep.
next to me. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
she's
she's
near a window now.
she's like, "You're too loud, mom."
I know, that's literally probably why she moved.
For for all of you listening, I want to remind you that once a month I host a free live training session on resilience. You can sign up here. The link will also be in the show notes. And until next time, be real, be resilient, reclaim your life. Ciao.